This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. And today we have 2 very special guests, Mr. Michael McCormick and Mr. Taylor Dobby from Insurance Soup. And I brought them on here for a few reasons. Number one, because I like them. Number 2, they've got some really cool stuff going on that they're doing with their new and very first live event that's coming up at the beginning of May. But they've also gone through, I wouldn't necessarily call it a rebrand, maybe you guys would, but sort of a reboot of what they've become known for online. And I wanted to give them a chance to talk to our audience about what they're doing there too, because they're doing some really cool things that I know they're changing the game for agents every single day. So, what's up, fellas?
What is going on?
Taylor, you can't change cups now that you know the video's rolling, man.
Well,
you're drinking stainless steel now.
You already gave me shit about my coffee, so I'll go to water.
There you go. There you go. So, in the rare event that somebody listening to this doesn't know who you are or what Insurance Soup is about, why don't we start there? And then we can number one, I hate the word unpack, and I can stop myself saying it all the time. And I almost said it right there. And
it was
Kyle
close.
let me, yeah.
It was about to roll off the tongue.
It was by accident. It was actually probably appropriate in that use. But let's start with the history and go from there.
Yeah, we'll take it all the way back to the beginning. Insurance Soup was started just as kind of an area for agents to be able to find out and communicate with other agents from other carriers. I got my start in the industry with Farmers, Mike with State Farm, and by talking back and forth, we learned that he was doing things one way and I was doing things another. And when you have corporate always telling you how to do something, your eyes aren't open to all the other opportunities and ways of doing it. So we created Insurance Soup to have just kind of a community for agents to share what was working, what wasn't working, and no intentions of it ever being the size that it is today. We started it with, I think, 500 agents that we were connected with and friendly with, and within, I think, the first 12 months, it got up to 5,000 agents organically.
Wow.
And then at that point, we said, okay, like it's growing quickly, and let's see what we can do with it to really kind of accelerate that growth. And so we've focused on just getting it out there to agents, and it's turned into a place that has allowed us to help thousands of agents build a nice career and be really involved just with the industry on many different levels.
Yeah, what's been kind of fun and interesting about it is the origin of it all, or the genesis of it, kind of came together for 50% selfish reasons, 50%. I don't want to use the word altruism because that's too hero-y soundy, but wanting to help agents avoid some of the same pitfalls that we had bumped into. And when we ultimately decided to get it started, it was on the heels of us having a little bit of bumping of heads with a marketer that had taken advantage of a couple of our friends within the industry, and us both feeling, me specifically about one thing in particular, feeling as if the carrier that I was with was not being forthcoming about an opportunity, and we kind of just said, you know what, we gotta get together and bring all these agents into one place to glom onto them and learn from them and you know, see what they're doing and what they're using and all that kind of stuff, and also if we're feeling this way as far as like, you know, either overpromise and underdeliver from the carrier, or you know, in some cases a straight up white lie, that other agents were feeling that they had been, you know, bamboozled or confused or taken advantage of as well. And we wanted to create an environment where that kind of stuff could be put on the table to help other agents avoid you know, unforeseen pitfalls and unannounced impacts on their decision and agency. What it evolved to obviously became much bigger and cooler and whatnot. But when we started this, it was with the intention of learning from everybody, not necessarily teaching the way ultimately, you know, we were called to do by a lot of the members of the group, but you know, to learn from everyone and to help expose and protect the producers and the agents of the industry from the motherships.
So how did you initially keep it from becoming like a bash board? Because it sounds like there was a little bit of a, you know, an issue that you guys ran into with the carrier not really being forthcoming, and, you know, obviously you'd be upset about that. So how did you keep it from being that initially?
So we have
Or did you?
We have pissed a lot of people off along the way because we never intended to turn it into a business from the beginning. You know, a lot of groups are created with the intent to monetize, and Insurance Soup wasn't. We didn't monetize or make a dime off of Insurance Soup for, you know, beyond the first 12 months. So with it not being a business, we ran it like a playground. We had a lot of fun, and we had very few rules, and we didn't tolerate any nonsense. If someone broke a rule, we used to have executions, and we would publicly, you know, execute the member. And then once we turned it into a business, the attorney was like, "That's probably not the best idea. So let's treat it like such."
Well, what's really funny about that is that we've definitely pissed off some people along the way that now that we're operating like a business and not a playground, we would have preferred to have salvaged or maintained or developed those relationships and whatnot. But, you know, it's early lessons.
Well, I mean, the thing is, man, when you start a group like that, doesn't matter if it's Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever, and you're not doing it with the initial intent to monetize. At some point, and I'm speaking from personal experience too, at some point you hit that inflection that says, I ain't getting paid a dime to do this. This is ridiculous that I'm spending this much time on this thing. And, you know, look, I'm the nicest guy in the world. I'm willing to share anything that I know with anybody. But if it's taken 12 to 15 hours a day just to handle the business of a Facebook group, it's actually costing me money because I'm not able to focus on all of the other stuff that I'm doing. So anybody that has a problem with monetizing a group like that truly hasn't ever been on the other side of it. I mean, I can tell you, I had a group that was, you know, 50, 60,000 people in a much worse vertical market than insurance. An absolute nightmare to manage. And, you know, cat fights every single day. If I hadn't worked in grocery stores where, you know, I was used to breaking up women fighting in the deli and the bakery for 75% of my day, then I probably wouldn't have been able to transfer over to running a Facebook group where they were doing the same thing.
Ladies, there's enough lemon meringue for everyone.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and the thing is, man, let's call it what it is. When you have a group like that of 5,000 people, there's a subset of that group that gets off on the execution. They're calling for it. You have the mob out there with their torches just waiting for you to parade this person by.
That's kind of my point. Yeah.
Well, we would do it in such a goofy manner too. You know, like we would go on to Google and we would Google, you know, medieval public, medieval executioner, and we would just find like the grisliest, most blood-soaked images of these medieval executioners, and post them with, like, you know, the trial of the agent as if there was a trial. You know, and sometimes we'd have the Joaquin Phoenix thumbs down type of thing from Gladiator, but it was
OGs of the group still call for the executioner every once in a while.
You should have had the dude from No Country for Old Men with the coin flip
with
in
this
there. That would have been
cattle
fantastic.
prod.
Yeah.
So funny enough, I did a majority of the executions in the early days, and one of our clients in the collective that's been with us for a couple of years, health insurance agent Mike Cardoso, last year for Christmas sent me this giant, like very impressive battle axe that weighs easily 45 pounds, along with like this chain mask that goes over, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I don't collect weapons. I don't. Taylor, on the other hand, has got an armory full, but I don't collect anything. Nevertheless, medieval weapons. And so this axe shows up at the house of my wife saying, what the hell is this? Like, why did you order this? Oh, I didn't order this. This was a gift from a client. Da 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 da. And then about
my wife's not buying that, by the
Well,
way.
yeah.
There's no chance. That
Well,
my
Why
wife
did
buys
you
that
order a
order.
giant battle axe?
Well, here's the rub. So about 2.5 weeks later, this was right around Christmas. About 2.5 weeks later, right after New Year's, a partner of ours had sent us an award for achievement within what we're doing with career insurance agents, our aggregator, and they sent me a sword with my name's engraved on it. But 2 weeks after getting this battle axe,
That's awesome.
I get this sword, and I have owned no
What'd she
medieval
say?
weaponry.
Yeah, what did she say when the chainmail showed up? I mean,
She didn't believe that I wasn't ordering
So
it.
just like you're LARPing around Texas.
Yeah. Yes.
Michael, but why do we have this Morning Star and Cat of Nine Tails? I mean,
Yeah, that's what you say. We're all learning Mike's into some kinky stuff.
Well, now in my basement, right over by my oil burner, I have got an axe and a sword just laying there, right out in the open for my 10-year-old daughter and younger children to access whenever they're down in the basement playing. Luckily, no one's been decapitated yet.
Jeez.
But it is not stored securely at all. So, go figure.
so you guys have dropped a couple of things. You talked a little bit about your aggregator. You talked a little bit about career agent concept. Why don't you delve into that a little bit before we get into the event?
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll start. CIA, Career Insurance Agents. We help agents open independent agencies. Over the last 3.5 years, we've brought on just under 200 agents, and we provide carrier access, the training support. We've got multiple contracts, and really what led to it was, seeing. Well, what's been really neat is because we didn't start Insurance Soup the intention to monetize, we've been able to keep our ear to the ground. So everything we do is we pay attention to the industry, and when the industry says they want something or they need something, we say, okay, how can we create a solution? So years ago, we were hearing a lot of frustrations around the going independent. So we said, okay, how can we create the solution? I'll keep this short because this is a whole other podcast in its own. And instead of
Well, we
trying
can
to
do
create,
it, man. We can do it.
Oh yeah, no, this turned into a very long one. Instead of trying to create our own, which we tried and realized much harder than what a lot of agents think. It's not just having an agency and then bringing on producers, calling them agents, making them feel like agents. To really provide the training support, everything across the board that you need to be able to offer that top-notch deliverable. We found a partner that's visions aligned with ours that we could complement and add to, and when you add 1 + 1, it equaled 3. And since then, after listening to the industry, we checked off all the boxes and said, look, this is what the industry needs, this is what they're asking for, how can we make it better, and been able to provide it. We've done zero marketing outside of Insurance Soup. At this point, we don't even post about it because the calendar stays full. And we've got 3 to 4 calls a day with new agents that are looking to go independent, and we turn away a lot simply because we won't just take anyone on that has a license and a heartbeat. We don't want to be their last hope. Refuse to be, a saving life raft. But if it's an agent that, truly is looking to build an independent agency and looking to succeed and do well, we've brought on just under 200 of them.
One thing I got to pat Taylor on the back for is he runs career insurance agents primarily. One of the things that he does extremely well is help agents understand the difference when they're inquiring about going independent, the difference between whether or not they've got a problem because of their situation or if they've got a problem because of who they are. And a lot of people think that going independent is the turnkey answer for all your woes in this industry as a captive. And for some agents that are captive, that is the case. But there are plenty of people in this industry where it doesn't really matter what kind of ecosystem you throw them in. They just don't have the work ethic, drive, determination, ability to learn, ability to market, ability to be creative. Can continue the list on and on and on it goes. So, one of the things that Taylor has and the team that he's developed, bringing on agents within CIA, one of the things that he does extremely, extremely well is help the agents identify which one of those two categories they fall into.
Yeah, I think the thing that differentiates you guys, I mean, I know there's some other people that have sort of tried to enter this marketplace now, but you guys are really kind of the OGs of taking somebody who really is used to going in and having agency in a box every day, and giving them the opportunity to do that, but be independent, right? That's how I look at it. And, there are other people out there now that have caught on to, hey, this is actually someplace that we could actually get some traction, because there are a lot of people that are captive that are leaving for all kinds of reasons, and Google is their friend, right? So, they're trying to learn and figure out what they can. And I think that, with what you guys have put together and the fact that it truly can be a one-stop shop for them, that gives you a leg up, right? I mean, there's podcasts out there that sort of guide people through the process. There are, bloggers. There are other aggregators, but it's all kind of cobbling and piecing stuff together. And I have to believe, I can't speak from experience, I know you guys can, but I can't believe that if you leave captive where, if you're wearing red and khaki every day and you walk in and everybody has the same system. I mean, look, I might basically take out State Farm and put in Target, because that's where I was before I got into the insurance industry. Everything was a common practice, man. Yep. So you knew how everything was going to be, and now you come out into this independent channel. I was in the independent channel and launched an independent agency and freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have, I had to start figuring out, how am I going to grow? How am I going to scale? Who are my friends that I can talk to that have already done this, that can show me what not to do and advise me on things I should do? And I still made a ton of mistakes. I didn't reach out to Facebook groups or anything else. I didn't even know they existed at that time. I was just worried about, can I write enough today so that I can eat next week, And, that led to buying bad technology, or not necessarily bad technology, just the wrong technology for me at the time, and not doing it in a sensible manner. So kudos for you to have something that, for all practical purposes, gives them everything they could possibly need in terms of a resource, and then building that around a social component that's sort of the glue that holds everything together in a community that people can support each other in, as long as they follow the rules, right? And grow their independence together. And I think that what you've done is taken something that was done with the right intent to begin with, and now you figured out a way to still run a group with the right intent, but also get rewarded for that, both monetarily, but also with the satisfaction of knowing that you guys are making a difference for these people that are engaged with what you're doing. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, we can all sit and say the money doesn't matter. The money matters. It does. We want to get paid for our time. I know what I'm worth. You guys know what you're worth. And there's a certain amount that I'm willing just to be, give away for goodwill. I do it all the time. But there's also a point where it's like, all right, look, you're scheduling time with me twice a week for the last 2 months. This is no longer, a good idea. Let's talk about that. And so I think it's a really, really delicate balance. It's a delicate balance internally. It's also a delicate balance for external perception, because a lot of people see, wow, these guys have a huge Facebook group. They must be just making money hand over fist off of it. That's the only reason they're doing this. Now, you don't put it. There are some things you deal with when you're running a community like that there's no amount of money that it's worth having to deal with, right?
No, I agree. I mean, one of the things that I enjoy most is helping people. And being able to help agents, watch them come from the captive side and, go independent and have a record month, 30, 60 days in, to beat their highest month as a captive. And they're still going independent, like you said, is one of the hardest things you can possibly do. If you're on the captive side and it was overwhelming learning one carrier with a few products, try learning 15 with multiple products. Like it's very complicated. So
and having to slap the tech together with duct tape.
Yeah. So outside of that, like to be able to provide, careers for people, like that's awesome to me. We've got a new guy starting on Monday, and right here in my little town of Midlothian, Texas. I was born and raised in this town. You can ask Mike; he's here a couple times a year. I've got a huge downtown area. It's one city block, and it's kind of a historic area. And as a kid driving through it, I was like, man, it'd be so cool to have a business, in downtown. Like that's when you feel like you've made it. And like having, the headquarters of CIA here in downtown and being able to provide, jobs to the community members, like that's where I really, really enjoy.
So I've got a couple questions. First is, what's the most common theme when people are reaching out and they're trying to go independent that they are having issues with? And then also talk about, you don't have to mention anybody specifically, but talk about one of your favorite wins that you've had recently.
Yeah, so the most common always comes down to, production. An agent either blames it on a rate, which can play a huge factor, or, they're limited on their product line because of location. There's a lot of hard markets out there right now, and unfortunately some of the hard markets, like David knows, Florida's tough, and it's not getting easier. Louisiana's tough. I'm just south of DFW, and property carriers don't want to touch anything with a roof. There are carriers that will fill those gaps, but rate always comes down to it, or being limited on the products. And then the other one is, well, I'm not producing, and it's not because of rate. It's due to the agent themselves. They don't have the systems in place. They don't have the processes. Turning on your open sign and kicking your feet up isn't going to grow a damn agency. It's not. Like the first 12 to 18 months of being an agency owner, like there is
Going to be pounding the pavement.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it is such a different game in the captive side of things. I mean, unless you're federated or somebody like that is specifically commercial. But I mean, for me, I never really worried about, I shouldn't say I didn't worry about it, but I probably didn't put a lot of emphasis on where the business was going to come from. Because where I play, it's up to me. I already knew I had to go out and knock on doors. I'd already been knocking on doors and making phone calls and all of that. So I wasn't as concerned as to whether or not the production would come or not knowing what I was supposed to do. For me, the bigger issue was, how do I keep myself out of trouble? What do I need to do from a tax perspective? How do I need to make sure I don't have E&O exposure? Like, what are those things that I need to be doing on a daily basis as an agency owner? And I had to get smart on that stuff really, really quickly because, I tell the story on the podcast all the time, but for the first 18 months, it was just me. I didn't have an account manager or anything. And so I built the agency like you would expect a one-man operation to build the agency. I put automation in things that I knew were going to be huge service tasks for me, like certificates of insurance. Okay, we use eCerts Online for that. Now our clients can go pull their pre-approved template faster than they can write me an email requesting it. So I took that off of my plate. I just went down the line, and there were some things that I thought were going to save me time that ended up costing me money and costing me time. And, reflecting on that is really probably where I'm the most valuable to people who ask me for my advice. It's don't necessarily do what I do, just don't do these three things, and you'll be just fine.
Well, it's funny. You had just, and I was writing a note down so I could reference back to it. You just mentioned that you built your agency how you'd think someone would build an independent agency, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, you know, everything that you just said is many, many steps further down the path than the average insurance agent that is opening their independent agency actually is beginning. Like, you used a word just now, automation, that, like, we're like, hey, new agent, use this, and it's not until 9, 12, 18 months down the line until they got that epiphany, like, oh, maybe I could have gotten 500 calls out today instead of the 12, you know? So, you know, hats off to you. You know, obviously you're one of the you know, bigger and smarter brains in this industry and whatnot for, you know, realizing that, not just for realizing that, just
that
in
just
general.
means I got my ass kicked more, Michael. That's all that means.
You know what? Losses are lessons, right?
Yep.
And if they're not, then they're really losses. So,
True.
You know, acknowledging and understanding that's obviously huge. But
Yeah, I wish, you know, I'm kind of like Forrest Gump, man. I'm not a smart man, but, you know, I know what automation is. You know, but in all seriousness, my thought process was really, what can I use to make sure I stay on the street and I'm not in the office? That's really as elementary as what it was, and I had to find those things that did not require that would alleviate me from having to be in front of a computer or to have to hire a body, because I started with nothing. Like, I truly started with absolutely nothing. And it's interesting, you know, yes, I think that there's a few things that people get mistaken about when they follow my story. And I don't really talk about it a ton on the podcast because there are things in there that I just simply am not gonna talk about publicly. But I had a period of time where, I take this back for a second because people question, how have you been able to scale as fast as you have? Well, the short answer is I've been doing this for 20 years. The longer answer is I had a non-compete, which means I opened up with absolutely nothing and bet on the fact that I was going to be able to AOR my entire book over when my non-compete was up. So there were a couple of years where it was really thin, and then it got fat really, really quick because I was able to go bring my accounts over as soon as my non-compete was up. And so when people think, oh, well, you know, you had this legacy book, or you started ahead. No, I didn't. I started just like everybody else, had no business. You know, I remember that the very first account that I wrote at Florida Risk was a guy, and he ended up canceling 90 days in. It's absolutely not the kind of business that I write, but it you're going to actually love this story, Michael. I can't believe the divine intervention that is going to allow this to come out of my mouth. Okay, this guy had a roofing company. He ended up paying cash for his premium, and then paid me cash for his down payment. I'd never had anybody just hand me cash for anything in the insurance industry before, so didn't even get a check. And I thought that was like weird. And like the first payment they made it, the second payment they made it, then the third payment didn't make it, cancellations come and everything else. I start trying to figure out what's going on. This guy walks in on his now ex-wife getting it on with another dude on the couch in their living room. And here's my favorite part. He grabs the samurai sword that was hanging above the couch, no medieval toys for this gentleman, and just goes after the dude that had been, you know, playing leapfrog with his wife.
Wow.
So we've gone from medieval to samurai now. But I mean, when you think about it, that's the kind of crap that you deal with if you're going out and you're writing business out of desperation of having to write business. I couldn't turn it away. And one of the things that I talk to producers about now is I think so many times we confuse activity with productivity. You know, we just write business that keeps us busy, so we feel like we're pushing moving the needle to where we want it to be, and we're always, we're sweaty at the end of the day. We feel like we put in a good day's work, but really we've been running on a treadmill, not going anywhere. Whereas if you take the time to identify what it is you're going to go after and what you're really good at, and you don't ever deviate from that, and I'm not saying that you need to go super micro niche level like my friend Charles Speck talks about, but you have to have an idea of the sandbox you want to play in, period. You know, for me, middle market, the one catch-all I have is if you have a mod of 1 or higher. That's the safety valve. Otherwise, it's technology, life sciences, Department of Defense contractors, light manufacturing, and service contractors. That's it. That's all I ever want to see or touch. That's the stuff I enjoy doing. It's what we're good at. But if you are any other industry and you have a mod of 1 or higher, I know that our value prop on the workers' comp side can come in and help you. It just so happens that a lot of the time it's service contractors, light manufacturing that have the mod problems because they don't have people looking over their shoulder to make sure that they're performing right. So it makes it relatively simple. But, you know, I've got guys that I talk to that are part of different mastermind groups and everything else. And every time they reach out to me for advice, it's something different. It's a trucking account. It's a nonprofit. It's a hotel 1 week. It's this, that, and the other. And it's like, I would be scared to death that I didn't have all my I's dotted and T's crossed because I'm trying to write so many different things. There's no way you can know everything about all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's no way. But you touched on something. You know, being busy and being productive are two totally different things. Like, and I'll have an agent like, I need to increase business. I'm like, all right, what's your schedule look like? Well, I get to the office and I start checking emails, and I'm like, and then what? Whatever comes up. I'm like, you're playing defense instead of offense. You're not controlling your schedule. If you don't have like set times to where it doesn't, like nothing besides the office actually catching fire, nothing else matters. You have to be in production mode, because if you're not ringing the register, like the agency's not going to grow. So being busy and being productive are two totally different things, and you being able to recognize that early on, knowing that you need to be out producing and not in the office, and that's why you started to incorporate automation and technology in the systems. I mean, I would guarantee that has a very key role in where you're at today.
Well, I think the other thing too is like the guys that are out there and the ladies that are out there making, a couple hundred calls a week, even if it's just on the phone, they're doing that because they have it on their calendar every day. There's time blocked for them to do that. I mean, that's the first step. You have to actually schedule it to be able to hold yourself accountable to it. And I was sort of laughing to myself when you were talking about, the asking the person what their day looks like or whatever, because I wanted to say, you do realize that you met the majority of these people in a Facebook group. They were probably playing on Facebook all day at their other job, and they have no clue what they're supposed to do.
You'd be amazed how many agents come to me, and they're like, my production, I'm just not writing enough. I'm like, well, no shit. Like 7 hours a day, I see you in insurance suit. Like,
yeah.
Get up and go produce.
Here, let me help you. I'm going to block you for 30 days. Let's see what your production numbers do, or just tell them to shut their Facebook down for 30 days.
Exactly.
The fire alarm in my office is going off, so I am going to mute myself for a second and see what the heck's going on.
I highly recommend that.
Well, right. Dude, yeah.
If this is the last that anyone sees of me, it's real.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So,
what kind of timing on that? I mean, after you just talked about the only thing that should keep you from doing your scheduled stuff is your office catching on fire.
This may go viral if
that's hilarious. If you just see him dive out the window out the back, smoke billowing through.
He's on the second floor, so if Mike dives out that window, it's going to be a hell of a sight.
Oh,
For those of you who don't know, we do have this on YouTube, and it's worth a watch every now and again because you never know what's going to happen on the video side. Taylor, talk a little bit about what you're doing for your educational piece. Like, is it all digital learning center? Are you doing live stuff? I honestly don't know enough about it personally, so I'm asking for my own information as well as having you share with everybody else. What's that look like?
Yeah, so Career Agent Concept CAC is what we started back in 2015. Started running Facebook ads, generating leads at a very low cost.
I was going to say, it started as a marketing program, right?
It did.
Okay.
And we, like you said, kind of rebranded in a way a little over a year ago and changed it to the Collective Agency Council. And instead of it just being marketing specific, we cover everything from systems, operations, best practices, scripts, closes, sales training, still have the marketing piece. That's where, Mike is amazing. That's where he really excels, is on the marketing side. I have to reel them in quite often. I'm like, all right, let's not go too far down that rabbit hole. But like you mentioned earlier, we want to provide the agency in a box. So on the the independent side, we can provide the carriers. We've got over 200 carriers across the board. We've got 60 plus team members behind the scenes that work in the office, in the licensing department, commissions department, accounting department. We've got a commercial lines department, personal lines. But you can have all those pieces to the puzzle, and if you're missing that marketing piece, that agency operation piece, that's not going to look the same in the long run. And so that's what CAC, the Collective Agency Council, is able to do, is provide that training on how to generate leads for your, not only your agency but your referral partners. Really, how to run a more structured and organized agency. Just across the board, it's that agency in a box that we're going for.
Yeah, I apologize, guys. My fire alarm did go off, and seems like everyone's safe and sound. But the collective has been kind of like an evolution of Career Agent Concepts.
Yeah.
Career Agent Concepts was all marketing, lead gen, automation, referral partner locating, referral partner, landing the referral partner, keeping the referral partner. All that kind of stuff. And, we did it really, really well for 5 years, 6 years almost. And we got to a point where, personally, I started to begin to feel like what we were doing wasn't enough. I felt like we were providing these guys the ability to generate leads with reckless abandon. I mean, the guys that really dug into it, are all generating hundreds of leads for a couple bucks a piece and are so flush with opportunity. But then when we would check in with some of them, it would like they were improving, but they weren't improving at the level that they should have. And we would start digging in. All right, well, what are you doing with the leads? What's your process? What's going on with regards to sales training? What are your processes? And we would have these conversations with the agents, and a lot of them will look at you almost cross-eyed, like, what are you talking about? Like,
listen, man, you and I both know this. Good marketing highlights horrible processes. Like, there should be no question as to where the breakdown is. You should be able to look at your business and figure that out, because in the worst time to do it is when you have a bunch of leads coming in, but it's also the easiest time to do it, because otherwise you may just limp along and never realize. But I mean, if you're ever going to scale your business, you better be able to drink from a fire hose. You better have the systems in place to make sure that stuff happens. And with what you guys do, or at least what I assume your constituency to be on the lead gen standpoint, you got to do it quick. These people are out shopping on the internet. They're not going to sit around and wait until you're ready to call them back in 3 or 4 hours. They went to your ad, they requested a quote, probably thought they were going to get a quote, right out of the box, not somebody to call them back after they fill out a short form. And by the way, let me throw a disclaimer on here. I have no idea that that's how Michael and Taylor do this, but this is typically what you see, on internet marketing. And then it goes and gets delivered to somebody's CRM that sends an email or whatever else. By the time your whole automation works, several minutes have already transpired, and they've already been to 2 or 3 other sites and done the same thing. So it's a rat race. If you don't have a way to get those leads assigned and have somebody follow up on them almost immediately, you're dead in the water. So for people who aren't writing business and think that going in and immediately starting massive marketing campaigns is a great idea to do it, you need to do it in tandem with making sure you have your kitchen in order and you have your processes in place, or you're going to end up destroying your brand if you're not careful.
I'm dealing with my fire alarm again, guys.
No, you're fine.
I figured.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Kyle looked like he leaned forward like he had something to say.
All right. The alarm went off, so good. Well, essentially, that's what ultimately led to us evolving Career Agent Concepts into the Collective Agency Council, was the fact that we, talking with the agents and understanding, the bigger problem, we started to get that, like, it's more than a lead problem for a lot of these agents, and they need more help than what we're actually providing. And quite frankly, we were also looking around the landscape, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry that's ever generated a lead on Facebook has a course or a program at this point. And we were looking at things and said, you know what, we've been doing the lead gen thing for a while. It's fun. We're still very good at it, but we have personally evolved our skill sets and our career quite a bit the last 5 years. But Moreover, we've also developed this giant network of agents who, whether they're clients through, one of our platforms, or just someone that we've gotten to know through Insurance Soup. We have got this circle now of people that are just exceptional in various areas of agency. Like, CJ Hudson Pillar is, quite frankly, the most technologically forward-facing agent I've ever come across in my entire life. Like if I gave him 15 minutes, he could probably set off every electronic behind you right now without even asking. Bradley Flowers is one of the best content producers in the industry. Brian Blair and Matt Hahn are two of the more savvy automators that we've got in the industry and all that kind of stuff. And we've got all these people. Ron Wadley, great with SEO. Troy Johnson, great with community building. We've got all these people that unbeknownst to us when they were coming to us, had these incredible skills or have gone on to develop incredible skills since we've gotten to know them. And, with regards to the evolution of career agent concepts towards the Collective Agency Council, we saw an opportunity to take all these people that have been clients that became friends that are now people that, quite frankly, I go to when I've got questions about stuff. Like, I'm not an SEO expert. Whenever I've got a question about SEO, I go to Ron. I'm not the guy that can glue all technology together. I used to be, but I'm not in the trenches doing it the way I used to do it. So now when I've got to slap technology together, I can still write an ad. My copy is on point. My targeting is fantastic. But if I got to slap tech together, hey CJ, when do you have 15 minutes? Yep. Stuff like that. But we've been very fortunate to evolve to a place where it's no longer the Mike and Taylor show, which, quite frankly, was exhausting. It got to a point where it's just exhausting to constantly be the guy, to a point where we've got, this nice little circle with us that are pretty much able to solve any agent's problem that they're having in their agency without having it to be us all the time, which is better for the agent, quite frankly.
Yeah, what's neat is I was going through the schedule for the Soup Live event, and out of all the speakers, we've got 6 of our clients that have joined over the last 6 years that have risen to be, the expert in their field. We've got 6 that are going to be, speaking from stage. So to see them go from someone quiet in a Facebook group, looking to learn, to being the expert and, absolutely amazing at what they do is just awesome.
And certainly Bradley's a great example of that.
Yeah.
Funny story about Bradley Flowers. I don't know if I've ever even shared this with him. So this will be fun for him to hear. He was the worst prospect. Just the friggin' worst. I had to talk to him like
you
8
almost,
times.
You almost.
I was going to say,
turned
why
away.
was it the number of calls, number of questions? I mean, Bradley is very analytical about stuff.
We got to a point, and Taylor can vouch for this. We got to a point where I hit Taylor up before like the 7th or 8th call, and I was like, if he doesn't buy or make a decision today, I'm probably going to give it to him pretty good. And and he bought that day. But it was like the 7th or 8th call, and it was like, each call was a half hour, 40 minutes. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but it was just one sale. We're not talking about like this is a big deal. This was one agent who I didn't really know.
I'm pretty sure Bradley understands that at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
He would definitely agree with you.
Oh, I'm sure, but I mean, thank God that things worked out the way they did. Not simply because Bradley went on to do some cool stuff, and we've developed an ongoing relationship and whatnot, but because he's a genuinely good dude and someone that was definitely worth helping. And geez, I'm not taking credit for his success by any stretch of the imagination, but geez, look at what he's gone on to do. It's been awesome.
I just like the way Bradley thinks about stuff, man, and it shows that you can, if you're willing to listen, you can learn from anybody, right? And that's not a knock on Bradley, but I think one of the biggest issues that the industry has is the older generation not being willing to listen to the younger generation coming in. And as you guys know, look how much Facebook ads have changed since 2015, right? It's a constant reinvention of what your business model is going to be. And that's also exhausting for you because it's not just managing the people, but managing the product that you're delivering to those people. And so I'm kind of in that, and I feel like you guys are too. I'm in that tweener generation. I'm 48. I'm not 50 yet, so I'm not really the old guy that's still sending out Courier and Ives calendars at Christmas time to my clients every year. But I'm also not Johnny Snapchat, right? I don't do that stuff. I don't understand it. But I'm smart enough to know that I need to at least have somebody on my team that knows that stuff, so that we can market to the next generation. Otherwise, who's going to be buying from me if I'm not marketing to them? And so to that point, I don't remember which group it was. I was in one of the groups on Facebook with Bradley, and it was one of those times where somebody asked there's you guys know this. There's just some questions you see over and over and over again. And this one happened to be, hey, I have an opportunity to advertise on golf scorecards for $300, right? What would you do? And there's all kinds of people who weigh in on that. And I saw that, I think just because I'm friends with Bradley on Facebook, it told me he commented on that thread because I hadn't interacted with it. And so I decided, all right, this ought to be good. Let me go see what Flowers has to say about advertising on golf scorecards. It was epic. He told the dude, he's like, here's what you need to do. Go to the bank, get 3 crisp $100 bills, light them on fire, put it on TikTok and Facebook Reels. You just got 100x the reach that you would ever get from golf scorecards.
Yep.
And the thing is, he's 100% right, man. Like, that's the thing. And I think that's where agents get stuck. We're not willing to adapt to what to do what's necessary to really hit what our end goal is. Our end goal has never changed. Our end goal is to write business, and you're going to write business through getting opportunities. You're going to get opportunities through reach. That's where it ends, right? Yep. You got some people still trying to advertise on Facebook by boosting posts. Like, that's going to get them where they need to be in the grand scheme of things. No, it's never going to get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
Why? You don't even need to boost it. Let it boost organically. Go light the bills on fire. Watch what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we see it all the time with agents. Their ego, once they start to do really well, their ego, it's a roadblock. It keeps them from going further because they're not willing to say, okay, I've got to continue to evolve. I started 5 years ago, and the way I did things then, isn't the same way now. I've got to evolve and stay current. And you'll see an agent go up and look at production, and then it'll start to level out, and then it'll start to go down. And until they make that adjustment and set their ego aside and say, okay, I need to be the student, and I need to learn new ways. That's once they're able to do that, you'll see it start to go back up. But you're 100% correct.
Yeah, rule number 1, never quit being the student, period.
Yeah.
I don't care how successful you are, you always have the ability to learn. I can learn stuff from brand new agents in the industry because they just think about the industry differently than I do.
Yep.
Doesn't mean one's right and one's wrong. They may say something that is completely, uneducated by an agent's terms, when in actual reality, I could take that thought process and turn it into something that really works well in the industry. If I'm not willing to listen, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Well, you know what's funny about that? You mentioned the thought of being the eternal student, and I don't know if our own clients realize that that is what a lot of the people in the, for lack of a better term, and I hate the word, the guru status is within the industry. A big part of the reason that we're in these positions is because of the fact that we are constantly and always learning. Like right now, and right now is no different than any other time in the last 6 years. Like, we are in no less than 4 or 5 courses or masterminds. I am currently in 2 separate masterminds that are both north of $3,000 a month. One for business, one for marketing. And you don't get to that next level by watching the free YouTube video. You don't get to that next level by hoping for the magic nugget in the comment section of a Facebook post. You get there by putting the winners around you and glomming onto them and learning from them and all that kind of stuff. And, call a spade. Even your most guruiest gurus out there, when they're dropping their nuggets on social media, they're not giving you the gold.
No.
I tell people all the time, if this is what I'm giving you for free, imagine what the good stuff looks like.
Right, like bite the damn hook. Bite the hook.
But David,
Like,
why won't you just give it all away for free?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I just need an hour to pick your brain.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good when it was like 5 people a year.
Jeez.
Right?
So what's this event
listen,
coming up?
Yeah, I was gonna say we've talked about. I mean, we've built the foundation. Why live? What was the tipping point for you guys? What made you decide you wanted to do this? And by the way, if you've been listening to this, hanging on, wondering, I'm gonna tell you right now, this event is blowing up. There's not much room left. Michael messaged me yesterday on Facebook and said that he wanted me to feel comfortable there as a speaker by having some of my people there, because I'm not as active in Soup as I am in other places. I'm working on that, but I'm not the guy that's on Facebook all day. I use Messenger a lot to communicate with people, but that's from my phone. And he gave me a very limited number of coupon codes. So at the end of this, I'm going to announce how you can look at getting a coupon code to come to the event. But I've got I've got like 5 of them left. So you better reach out sooner than later, or you're gonna miss an opportunity. But all that being said,
Yeah.
why live?
Insurance Soup has been asking us to do a conference for years. We've spoke on many stages and have spoke at many conferences and events, and they've asked us to host them, and we haven't done it for a couple reasons. One, they're a pain in the ass. They
It's a
really
lot of work,
are.
man.
A lot of work. But two, we're just so busy with everything else that we've pushed it to the back burner, for so long, and finally we said, all right, let's do it. Now, in typical fashion, we said, okay, we'll do a couple of them a year, and we'll try to keep it around 100 agents, and that was the plan. And then I sent Mike the venue, and it's like, hey, instead of doing it small, why don't we just go like way over the top and do it right? And we both agreed, and we rented out Texas Live. It's right next to the Ranger Stadium in Arlington. You can see the Cowboys Stadium across the water. Killer venue, and it's May 5th and 6th. And one thing that Mike and I have taken away from just about every event we've attended is agents don't like to be sold from stage. If they're paying to go somewhere, they don't want to feel like they're just being sold by everyone up there. So our number one thing from the very get-go was, it's going to be value. There's not going to be any sales pitches from stage. You're not going to be pressured into buying anything. We want the agents to leave with so much value. We're giving them all the slide decks from the speakers. We've got USBs that are going to have, systems and operational, commission trackers, business plans, ways to structure your schedule, agency handbooks, like all the things that agents won't take the time to sit down and do. They're going to receive. So, the goal is for them to come. We're catering lunch on Thursday, Cinco de Mayo. Guy Fieri has a taco restaurant there at Texas Live. So we're catering tacos on Thursday. We got a
Tacos are
happy
the
hour.
best.
Oh, tacos are
Dude,
the
Guy
best.
Fieri loves food, man.
He does.
Like, let me tell you what I want to see. I want to see the outtakes of when he goes to these places on diners, drive-ins, and dives and takes a bite of something that absolutely sucks. I've never seen him eat something that he doesn't like.
That's a good point.
I'll
Triple
have to
D is the best, by the way.
I love it when they go to
love
Key
that
West.
show.
Yeah.
I'll
Triple
have-
D and Key West are my favorite episodes.
I'll send you a link, David, after this. It's kind of like behind the scenes from 15 to 20, restaurants, their experience. And you get about, I think 30 minutes to an hour of actual time with him. And it's, insanely strict. You can't have customers in. That day it's completely closed. to
Those are all
public.
extras.
Yeah.
They set it up. My wife
Yep.
was telling me about that. I've never seen the video, but
Yeah.
Interesting.
it's-
Really?
It is.
So everybody on the show is just people they bring in?
Yeah. There's
Huh,
no
okay.
actual customers in.
hey friend, never seen you around the neighborhood at the diner before.
Yeah. He'll send a list of ingredients.
Well, that's
that-
interesting because they interview people sometimes
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is the best goulash I've ever had.
Well,
He'll send a list of ingredients that you can't use and things that he doesn't like. After watching this, I was like, man, that changes my view on the show. I still love it.
Yeah,
I
no
still want
kidding.
to see him without his hat and his visor because He just won't be the
Dude,
same.
there is somebody in China that made a fortune off of making those visors with the built-in guy hair.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
For sure.
I hope he's getting a royalty off that.
What's funny though is a lot of those reality shows are just about as real as what you're seeing on social media, throughout the day,
Yeah.
and you don't even realize it. My wife used to work in television before we started having babies and all that kind of stuff, and the stuff that she would tell me around some of the reality shows that weren't real. She worked for Women's Entertainment for a while, and the show Bridezillas was brand spanking new, and she was part of the team that brought that to the network, and she would talk about how fake it really was, and how the brides were being instructed to really lose their minds.
Oh,
and, all that kind of stuff. But what's funny, it's across the board. I didn't know that about Guy Fieri, but my wife is really into a show about this Alaskan family that live out in the wilderness and build a house and the whole nine. Da 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 da. And about 3 years ago, I found an article that said that they are not building a house out in the wilderness. They're doing it for TV, but they stay at the local hotel right.
You take a chopper in.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
But
yeah.
No, the event's going to be awesome. We've got some really, really awesome speakers. We've got the King of Commercial yourself, Jack Jameson, known as kind of the king of life insurance in the farmers world. We've got Chris Paradiso, Troy Korsgaden, of course Bradley Flowers, CJ, Ron Wadley. We've got a handful of just awesome speakers that 2 days is going to be packed. If you can
Nice.
see the schedule of how much we're cramming in to try to really maximize the time with the agents. But we also want it to be fun. We've got the happy hour Thursday night at Sports and Social. It's got bowling alley, axe throwing, not real axes. Mike can leave his battle axe at home. But it'll be a really fun event. Friday, Pudge's Pizza is catering Friday's lunch, and then we've got the VIP, so we're only selling 30 VIP tickets. And we've got all the speakers, that are going to be speaking, and we've got a VIP dinner. It's going to be prime rib, grilled chicken, drinks, and
Dude, I've seen the meat on your table, okay? I've seen the spread that you put out. I would fly to Arlington just to have that dinner.
Man, you come down and I'll cook for you. I love to cook. My wife, we're about to start building a house, and I've got very few requests. I want a gun room, and I want my outdoor kitchen. And beyond that,
Yep.
I don't care what she does with the house beyond that. I'm like, those are my two requests.
Well, you're never going to be anywhere but those two places.
Exactly.
So, I
Right.
mean,
Exactly.
who
So,
cares?
I'm with you on the outdoor kitchen. That's we're looking at houses, and that's
It is.
that's a box that's got to be checked.
Yeah, I've got 6 different grills and smokers right now, and I was like, I
Yeah.
will condense those down if I can design the outdoor kitchen that I want.
Right.
No, it'll be fun. VIP dinner, I'm really looking forward to. We're keeping it small at 30 for a reason, because we want the VIP guests to have that one-on-one time and be able to actually spend time with the speakers, and that's what'll wrap up Friday for the event, is the VIP dinner. So we're really looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to Saturday to be able to take a breath, have a cold drink, and start planning the next one. When that will be, I have no idea, but it's definitely been a handful.
Ultimately, the reason that we decided to go from smaller, more intimate, little 150 agent events to something a little bit bigger here is because when Taylor and Paige, one of our staff down in Texas, went and actually saw this venue, it kind of dawned on them that out of anywhere that we've spoken, anywhere that we've attended, anywhere that we've been invited, where there's been a conference or a brouhaha or whatever, there's never been a huge focus on keeping everyone together. Like the event goes off, and then the day ends, and then these 10 people shoot out to this place for dinner, and these 15 go out to that bar, and this one, and these 10 go wind up here. And Texas Live has got, I believe, 10 restaurants and bars right there at the exact same location where all the speakers are going to be speaking from stage, And we're looking at it as an opportunity for the hundreds that are going to be in attendance here to all remain intact and together well into the evening, because as much fun as these events are, as much education or value is being delivered from stage, my personal experience has always been you get the most out of the time in between the event with everyone that's in attendance, whether it's networking, relationship building, exchanging strategies and whatnot. The thunder that everyone is looking for from stage and ideally is getting from stage always happens with a good group in attendance that's hanging out and staying together and all that kind of stuff. So Texas Live became a no-brainer for us to throw a bigger event, knowing that we could keep everyone hanging out and enjoying each other.
Yeah, I mean, I would literally buy tickets to an event that had no speakers, just 2 days in the room with winners. I mean, when you surround yourself with people that are looking to grow and have the same mindset and to look, to be better, what you take away from those conversations and those relationships that you build while you're there is worth the price of admission to any event.
Cool deal. Well, listen, guys, we've been going about an hour. I want to be respectful of your time. Really appreciate you coming on and spending time with us in the midst of a fire alarm and all of the other stuff. I don't know that it would have turned out any better if we didn't have any distractions. And for everybody who heard what I said earlier, I have a very, very limited number of coupon codes that I can give to my inner circle. I think I have like 5 left, and truthfully, space in the event is running out. So if you want to get one of those coupon codes, email me, david@floridariskpartners.com. I want you to use the subject line coupon code. If you don't use that, I will delete your email and not read it. So use coupon code so that I can sort by subject, and just give me a couple of sentences telling me why you deserve a coupon code to save you over 50% off your admission, and I'll tell you why I think you should have it. So with that being said, guys, I really appreciate it, man. This was a fun time. It flew by.
Yeah,
truthfully,
definitely appreciate you.
It's good to have you on, and I look forward to releasing this. We're going to push this out next week so that we can get some awareness about the event out there. But I'm going to leak the video version of it out to YouTube this afternoon. So
awesome!
I'm going to send it back to my oldest and let him get to producing right away, and we'll have this thing out today. So thanks so much, everybody else. Listen, people. Go on iTunes and leave a review, for crying out loud.
Oh, come on.
Kyle, come on, man.
I mean, I don't know what else we have to do.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Jason Cass doesn't give nearly the value we do on his podcast. His reviews show it. But, the fact that he has 35 and we're still not even at 100 is kind of, embarrassing.
That's gross.
To me.
That's
I
gross.
like to at least
do we have to send people gummy bears? Is that what it is? To be? I mean,
it might be. It might be.
Come on.
Anyhow,
start sending
come
my
on.
tacos, Kyle.
There you go. There you go. Everybody, we'll catch you next time. See ya.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.